So let's talk a little bit about work-life balance, because when we are feeling a bit stressed and work is perhaps becoming a little bit all-encompassing, it can really feel like we're on a complete hamster wheel. And that's why sometimes we just get to a point where we just say, stop, I want to get off. And I know that when I was feeling really kind of stressed and unwell, I suffered with chronic migraines, that actually, instead of thinking what balance could I get, I got to a point where I was just thinking, just stop. I think I'll just give up work altogether. And that was me coming at it from a unwell place and a very stressed place. So what I want to talk about in this topic is an exercise that we can all do that tells us about where the balance is in our life. And I've called it the slice of life. And if you do have the book, it's on page 91, or you'll find all of the supporting information within the course topic. So I'm just going to share my screen so you can see. Now, in this example here, if you get the draw a circle and you can get this wheel, really what we're trying to do is to work out roughly the proportions of time that we're spending on certain things. So if you have, in a week, I worked out that you have 168 hours. And actually it's quite a lot. It's quite a lot of hours. But how do we spend them? How are you spending them? I know that at times in my life, I've been spending a lot of my time in the work section, and other things like social life or hobbies or family get a bit neglected. So in this example here, if you work a 40-hour week, sleep 7 hours a night and commute 2 hours a day, and watch TV for 3 hours a night, then this is what your week might look like. And there's a bit of time in here for a social life and for some hobbies. Now, if I look at a slightly different example, and this might be someone who is working a 70-hour week, only sleeping 5 hours a night, commuting 2 hours a day, and then perhaps working as well at the weekends for 6 hours, working over breakfast, checking emails at night, then it might look a little bit more like this. And the sleep has got less, family time is still there, social life there's a little bit, but other things like hobbies and more sleep, more quality sleep potentially starts to fall by the wayside. And I remember doing this exercise with a client, and we did this exact piece of work with the slices, and I think his looked quite like this. And in fact, when I asked him about hobbies and sports and TV and other things that he might want to do with his life, like go to the gym or whatever, he actually turned to me and said, "What's a hobby?" He hadn't really ever got to that point where he had spare time. His life was completely about work. So what I want you to do is to take a blank piece of paper, or you can use the template in the course or in the book, and start to think about what your work-life balance looks like. Draw the sections. Your sections might be different. You might have other responsibilities. You might do volunteering. You might have caring responsibilities that you need to put some different segments of your wheel into the picture. So just make it work for you and draw out what you want. You can think about things like how much time you spend on the internet, surfing, and be honest, I didn't include that on mine because it probably would have been a bit scary. You can think about any time that you're working. Sometimes we think of work as just that 9 to 5 contracted hours, but I want you to be honest and really start to think about the number of times that you check in on your emails, picking up your phone immediately that you get out of bed, or check them before you go to sleep, checking them during family time whilst you're watching TV or a film and you're kind of looking at things like that. Any other time where you think that actually you are taking those calls post hours, add those on. So you're going to do a realistic view. This is what it is now. And then what I want you to do is, so you can use this current role and position template for that. So divide up what you're currently doing. Be honest, check all of those different tasks. And then this is the fun bit. You start to think about the ideal. What would you like it to be? Do you actually want hobbies? Do you want to go to the gym? Do you want to be working a bit less? Do you want to be having more of a social life, more time with your family, more time with your friends? This is the opportunity to think, actually, if I have a perfect week where, yes, I'm doing good, interesting, valuable work and getting good quality sleep. So that's two chunks. What would I do with the rest of my time? What would I like it to be? And what would good balance be like for you? Now, for some people, they like doing more work and they're really passionate about their trade and they're really into it, and they don't mind going on to Instagram and posting about it in the evening, or they don't mind writing at the weekends, because that to them is what they like doing. And that's what I'm always talking about, getting that balance of doing what you love and doing the dream thing. Sometimes it then doesn't feel like work. But if you're trying to get a bit more of a boundary and you've drawn your current view up and it's looking a little bit out of balance, then drawing out what you want can be the start to thinking about how you can get some of those boundaries. And we can start to then think about, if you're thinking about a future job, you're looking for something new, then this will give you a very clear indication of the sort of contract hours, the sort of boundaries that you need to have in place when you go to somewhere else. At the moment, a lot of people will be looking to stay where they are. And actually, you don't need to jump ship to get a better work-life balance. In many people that I coach, I ask them, has anyone asked you to log in at 10 o'clock at night? And the answer is often no. Has anyone asked you to log in at 6 o'clock in the morning before you've even opened your eyes properly and check your emails? And the answer is no. What happens is we've got ourselves into some bad habits. Some of that has happened because of the pandemic, when the lines have been blurred between work and home, and the, constantly having potentially IT equipment at home, being able to be available all the time. But we're now in this post-pandemic situation. We are going back into the offices. Many of us, we are working a different pattern, and actually it's not sustainable to keep working in that way. So if you're deciding you're going to stick with where you are at the moment, which is fine, and a lot of people will be just choosing to stay within their current organization rather than take a risk right now, which is totally understandable. There is an opportunity, having done this exercise, to then think about the boundaries you want to draw yourself. So if when you've done this, you've concluded, yes, I am spending 3 hours every Saturday morning and 2 hours on a Sunday night to get ahead, or I am logging in at various times that I shouldn't be, then you can start to think about boundaries that you set yourself, and maybe having conversations with people at work about what you can do to change. Now, there's a final piece on here, which is a delegation exercise that you'll find on the template. And sometimes we will feel like we've got to do everything ourselves, whether that's at work or at home. And so you can do this exercise in two ways. One is thinking about the work life, and the other is thinking about your home life. And what I would recommend you do is to write down everything. Let's think about work to start with. Write down everything that you should be doing in the middle of the circle. Okay, that should include your objectives, your main purpose, your main role. the tasks that your boss has actually asked you to do, to write this report, to deliver this project, to manage this person, to manage this team, whatever that looks like for you, that should be inside the circle. And then what I want you to do is write down everything else that you're doing, that you are doing, perhaps because no one else volunteered for it, no one else put their hands up, that you just do because you don't trust so-and-so over there and they've left, so I took that extra piece on. I want you to write down all of those things around the outside of the circle. And this will then give you a really visual understanding of what you should be focusing on. You need to be working on the stuff that you are going to get graded on. You know, if your end of year review, the stuff that's in the circle is what's going to count. That is the main deliverables that your boss is going to be judging you on. You might have been asked to do other things, but it's an opportunity to say to yourself, do I really need to do them? Am I doing them because someone else can't do them? Am I doing them because someone else is lazy? I'm letting them get away with things. I'm having to double check people's work because the quality is poor. I'm having to chase people because they're not actually getting back to me. These are all wasted activities, and actually you can really start to put your boundaries in place. You can talk to that person and say, from the 1st of next month, I'm not chasing you. I'm just expecting you to do it. I'm not going to be doing that work again. I'm expecting the quality to be good. So you can start to put down some boundaries. You don't have to be difficult about it or aggressive, or you're going to be assertive and clear, and you're going to start to build up your boundaries. So you're doing the piece of work inside that circle. Be interesting to see how much is in and outside of your circle. So have a little look at what you've done and see how much is outside of the circle. What else are you taking on that isn't really your responsibility, and what can you then delegate or move away or say no to? If you decide to, you can also do this exercise for home things. Now, this is a slightly difficult one because there's no kind of job description or what I should be doing, but you'll kind of know within your family setup, are there things that you're doing that potentially other people could be doing? So you might just write down things that you are happy doing in the middle of the circle, and other things that potentially you would like other people to help with. So it could be things like doing the dishwasher. If you've got kids, what else could they be doing? Could they be doing some of the tidying up? Could they cook a meal once a week? Could they put a load of washing on? It might be all sorts of things that you want to delegate. My family, we have very clear sort of boundaries in terms of, I do most of the cooking, for example, but my husband does all of the finances and the paperwork. He's an accountant, so that makes a natural split. So you can have a look at where you may be more suited and potentially bring other people in, especially if you've been someone who just does it all because you just always have. This is about looking at the balance in your life. And if you go back to that original slice of life, if you're finding that, the piece of your wheel is large in the domestic area, and actually, the work's looking okay, but maybe sleep and hobbies are suffering because the domestic piece is high, that might give a clue to you that that's an area that you want to delegate more of. So I hope that's been helpful. Have a go at the exercise. Take your time over it. There's quite a lot there in terms of writing down what you currently do, what you would like it to be, and then looking at opportunities to delegate. But take some time, write it all down, and then reflect and see what might need to change, either in your current situation, your current work, or when looking for something new to be applying for.